Chapter 50, Gurunath's Blessing on the Nawab. Let me recap what the summary of this chapter is all about. This chapter illustrates the merit one earns by visiting holy people. The Nawab, who was a washerman in his previous life but born into a royal family in this life because of the blessings he had from Shripada Sri Vallabh, gains the darshan of Sri Narasimha Saraswati and gets cured of his physical ailment and also attains spiritual liberation. Very good morning. Jai Shri Krishna Guru. Thank you for joining Shri Guru Charitra Satsang. Wishing you all a very happy Guruvar, happy Thursday. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha, Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha, Om Shri Saraswataya Namaha, Om Shri Guru Dattatreya Namaha, Om Shri Mahalakshmi Namaha, Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Guru Charitra Satsang. So yesterday we were doing the story about the Pingala and the Brahmin. Now we'll continue from where we stopped. After narrating as above, the yogi told the Nawab that if he also sought the darshan of a saint and had his blessings, he would also certainly get rid of his disease. I hope you remember the Nawab has a physical ailment and then he was given an understanding how it is important for him to visit Sri Narasimha Saraswati, and before that he was given an anecdote and the experience of the Mahanubhava. The yogi asked the Nawab to go to Gangapur. So this is the Mahanubhava who the Nawab meets, and this yogi is instructing him to go and meet Sri Narasimha Saraswati. The yogi asked the Nawab to go to Gangapur. The Nawab came to Gangapur and started inquiring where he could meet Sri Gurunath. He was told that Sri Narasimha Saraswati had gone to Sangam. The Nawab went to the Sangam. He saw Sri Narasimha Saraswati there and paid his obeisance to him. Gurunath said, "Oh, Rajaka, don't you remember you were a washerman and you used to worship me? How beautiful! Why have you taken so long to come to me?" As Gurunath was talking thus, his whole previous life flashed in the Nawab's memory. He fell at the feet of the Gurunath with tears of devotion and gratitude welling out from his heart. All the devotion he used to have for Shripada Sri Vallabh in his previous life surged forth again. How beautiful and sweet it is. You know, this is the amazing experience to have where you have an understanding who Sri Narasimha Saraswati is. In the earlier life, he was Shripada Sri Vallabh when the washerman had met him. And that time he had blessed him that he will be born in a regal family, in a royal family. And he will be the king. The Nawab prayed that Gurunath should relieve him of his ailment. Gurunath told him, "Show me where is your ulcer." As the Nawab was trying to remove his coat and show him his ulcer, lo, there wasn't any trace of the ulcer at all. The Nawab's joy knew no bounds. Further, in the presence of the Gurunath, he felt as much intense joy as does a long lost son on finding his mother again. Absolutely. This is the Guru Ma, the mother of everyone, the mother of this entire universe. Like I keep calling my Krishna Ma, who's so compassionate with everybody. You know, he doesn't care about whether they have done something wrong, they have done something right. You know, all he looks into is the divinity, who they are, the divine being in everyone. He's compassionate towards the entire creation, and he, takes closer everybody. He addresses everybody's, grievances and gives them redress for all their problems. Like the Nawab did come to Sri Narasimha Saraswati because he had an ulcer which was, troubling him a lot. But even before he could even ask for the remedy or a cure, it has already vanished. Just being in the presence of this great divine beings, such as the greatness of this Guru. And remember one very important thing, that they are not, see, like we sway and we are judging a human being by right and wrong, good and bad, all that aspects. But the Guru doesn't judge anybody. I remember once my Guruji was, this is many years ago, he, there was someone, I can't remember who this person was, but I can only give you a gist of the story. There was somebody, who was suffering from some very serious ailment. My Guruji had gone to, bless this person and see what can be done. At that moment in time, after meeting this sick person, comforting, he touched this person's head with his hand of benediction, that grace and comforting. And finally, after he finished, he was just out of that place, and then he just said to me something very strange. He said, look, this person's chakra is completely disturbed because of the kind of sins and karma this person has performed. But I don't want to go in the depth of it right now. I'm not even interested in knowing all of that. All I can do is just comfort them, remove that suffering as much as possible. That is the greatness of my Guruji. He's not bothered about what kind of karma people do, because he said the chakras were completely messed up. It was acting against that person, and that was creating too much problem with that sickness. It was aggravating by the moment. Why do people suffer? Because of their karma alone. Any sickness, any kind of a problem, whatever the challenges that you go through in, with this physical body, in this life of yours, is only because of your prarabdha karma. You have come to repay. In fact, yesterday, my Krishna Guruji gave a very profound satsang from Bhagavad Gita, where Lord Shri Krishna is teaching about the Kshetra and Kshetrajna. And in that, my Guruji was talking about the only reason why we are suffering, whatever we are going through, is because of our karma. Karma, what does karma mean? It is all about repayment, whether it is good or bad karma. You're coming to only repay. So everything is to repay alone. But what happens is, we human beings feel, why is somebody behaving bad to me? Why is this person doing like this to me? But what we fail to understand is that it is all because of your prarabdha karma. From our previous lives, we are going to meet those people because we have certain repayment to be finished, repayment to be done, whether it is receiving or giving. So both is a transaction. There is a repayment that has to happen. So it is important that we don't perform any karma, at least in this life of ours. So what does Lord Shri Krishna teach? To perform nishkama karma, which means selfless action, not at getting attached to anybody in the world, and just being your good self. Yesterday my Guruji taught a very beautiful lesson, and this was a very practical lesson. And in that, he said, no matter who this person is, you might have all sorts of grievances against, or that person must have grievances against you. You might not be in good terms, but it doesn't matter. You know what? Just be your good self. Bless them. Bless them from the innermost being, it has to come from within your heart. That goodness, that is what my Guruji is teaching. Being your good self. We don't have to have any ill feeling, irsha, whatever that, evilness that a human have, the demonic propensities, or the evil propensities that we carry. Why can't we be that God? Let that divine being shine forth through that goodness, because God represents only goodness and godliness. And I followed. It was very difficult for me to, speak to someone whom I have not been in communication at all. But this is the test of my spirituality. Am I capable? What is it? By being good to someone, being nice to someone, does it cost money? Of course not. This is the most easiest thing to do and live. Yet we find it so difficult. Why? Because we have given into our egotism, arrogance, ill will, anger, hatred, greed. The goodness has completely gone out of the window from our life. There is no goodness in this world. And genuinely, yesterday, one phone call I made, and I spoke something, at that moment in time, that it was a very beautiful experience. There's something, I felt there was a window that opened from my heart. There is something that flowed. The words were of the divine Lord. That experience was very tremendous. It was very powerful. What does it mean to be good self? I think it's a most profound experience of my life, I would say, with my Guruji. I got that understanding as to why it is important to say always good words to everybody. It doesn't matter. This was my first glimpse of what it means to be, your good self. because it is very easy said than done. Good and self. Yourself is always good. Yourself is always compassionate. Yourself is that divine being, which is what you have to be. You have to realize this self, and then that characteristics associated with self is all you're going to experience. Love, the language of love, kindness, compassion, benevolent, being your loving self, caring, forgiving. That is what comes in you. You are not going to get angry with anybody. And yesterday, another most important lesson my Krishna Guruji was teaching is that Lord Shri Krishna is neither in the Sat or Asat. Where is he? In the centeredness. And what was he teaching? Equipoise. Because the Lord doesn't sway in the right and wrong. He's neither white nor black. He's gray. He's a mix of both, in which there is no contamination. There is no Sat or Asat. Everything is just centered. And that is where my Lord Shri Krishna exists. So whether you're talking about truth or untruth, he's not in either. Where will you find him? In that blissful state, and that state is called equanimity, a state where you're not swaying between the right and wrong, good and bad, happy and joy. Somebody praises you, insults you, it doesn't matter. You are in that state of Satchidanand, that Sat, Chid and Anand, in that perfect equilibrium, in that equanimity of mind, and in complete equipoise. That is where Lord Shri Krishna is. That when you attain that state, that is that moment you will become one with the divine being. Not until then. So there is no point in swaying. The moment you keep swaying, you are only with the Kshetra. Then how will you become the Kshetrajna, which is who Lord Shri Krishna is? So if you have to get there, first is you have to control your mind, not getting carried away by what is happening around you, the right, wrong, good, bad, and getting angry over people, things. You don't need to. Just surrender to the will of the divine Lord. This morning I was really, not feeling up to the mark. I was really angry for some reason. And that time my Krishna Guruji was teaching a very profound lesson. Where is yours? Equanimity of mind. Why should you be angry? I need to smile, he was saying. But it was a momentary thing. And then I was telling to myself, why should I even sway? Why am I feeling that when I understand I am not the body, why am I still attached to this body? Where is this mind coming from? It's just surrender. When you surrender to the will of the divine Lord, even if somebody is insulting you, somebody thinks you're you're a useless person, somebody thinks you're incapable, you can't do this, but at the end of the day, everything is coming from the divine Lord alone. Please remember, he's put you through that process of evolving. And then it hit me really hard. What is that I'm missing? Why am I even facing this? Is because I am not surrendering. I am feeling things has to be like this. And most important, I'm getting swayed by what I hear, what I see, and all that. So why should I get disturbed? The most important lesson is equanimity of mind. That is when you attain that equanimity of mind, that is when you will be able to attain Lord Shri Krishna, that equipoise state. You cannot sway because he's in that perfect centeredness. He's not swaying at all. Have you ever read Krishna Leela? You must if you haven't. And in that you should understand the qualities of who Lord Shri Krishna is. It is very beautifully described. He's unperturbed even when he sees right in front of his eyes the gory scenes of his kith and kin fighting each other and stabbing each other to death. He's not even bothered about that Holocaust that is happening because that is what is meant to be. That is how the things have been programmed. He's sitting in that perfect blissful state even in that situation. His leg has been stuck with the arrow, and the poison is entering his being. He has to leave his body. He knows he has to die. The body has to die, and he is in the perfect equilibrium state. That is who he is. And you know what? Even when the beautiful gopis, the damsels, come in front of him and dance away, and he performs the Ras Leela, nothing affects him. You think he's getting carried away with that? No. But he is in that action at that moment in time, in that state of blissfulness, Satchidanand. Again, he's one with them. And what does this Ras Leela mean? It is about the dance within, that yoga of attaining the divine within your being. There is no outside of you anything. The way we think, see, all these stories are weaved for the simple mind to understand, not because of anything else. Because your simple mind, how will it understand? But please remember, the moment we give such beautiful stories in describing that state or how sweet it is, we think about, the pairs of opposites. We are always going into that, what we directly hear or listen. But to decipher this knowledge, only God can decipher. So you need to meet your guru. Without meeting your guru, the you can't decipher this knowledge. Nobody can understand it, because it is codices. So you have to have a guru who will give you an understanding. What does this Ras Leela mean? And then how beautiful that union, because you are, the divine Lord is one with you within your being, and you're dancing. When you attain him, how do you enjoy him? You dance your heart out, right? You're literally, you're completely let loose, and you're dancing away to glory, being completely one with him. There is nothing other than him alone. That is called single pointed devotion, and that represents unconditional love. You don't care about who you have in your life, your father, mother, job, nothing. You're completely in that Sachidanand state, that blissful self. That is what the self is all about, and attaining that is the yoga. Yoga is union with the divine, and when you attain it, is very sweet. Then nothing affects you in this world. Please remember, at the end of the day, whatever is happening, you just have to sail through it. The one who is going to sail you through is the divine Lord Almighty. Surrender unto his will, and magic will happen. Don't worry about it. So what is very important? You need to become centeredness. Equanimity of mind is extremely important. The reason I'm talking about it is because, look, when we have these afflictions, when we have any trouble in our life, we become upset, we become angry, we lose that control of mind. So even the little moment you're losing, you have gone away from the divine Lord Almighty. So where is that blissfulness? So aren't we becoming a human being? That is what happens. So what is more important is to just surrender and always have that state of equipoise. When you have that, that is when you are in the self, always in that, lost in yourself, and nothing contaminates you, nothing disturbs you. And you'll know this entire universe that you are in is nothing but the creation of Maya, and Maya will not touch you at all. And then all the desires will automatically fall off. Then you'll become a desireless being, where you are there only to serve the purpose of the divine Lord Almighty. You're only going to become an instrument in his hands and completely be lost in himself. Then whether it is your job, your money, whatever that has to come, it will just effortlessly come to you. You don't have to think that I have to earn, I am responsible. Where is this question? So give away that, surrender. Why are you holding? It is like the story of Draupadi, when she was I'm sure everybody knows about the Vastra Aran in Mahabharata, right? So what happens at that time? Till the time she's holding, she thinks that she's responsible for her life, and she's holding that the sari of hers. When Dushasan is removing her sari, she thinks, oh, she's calling out to Lord Shri Krishna, but she's holding that sari. She thinks she has to protect herself. But what she didn't understand is, till the time she thinks she's responsible for her life, Lord is not going to come. But the moment she let go of the sari and literally surrendered to Lord Shri Krishna, that is when, Lord was right there. Nothing shall befall her. You know what? The Dushasan tried to remove as many sari as possible. He was tired. There was not a dearth to her. There was not a black mark to anything that could taint anyone there, or I don't know what the right word to say, which will embarrass as a woman, which will let her respect fall off. Lord protected her. It's a way of explaining to a common mind. So when Dushasan was pulling her sari, the sari came in heaps and bounds. He was tired and he fell off. That is how he protected Draupadi. But what did she do? She took her hand off and she said, Krishna, I let go, I surrendered to you. Come and save me. That is what she did. And then the Lord arrived there. So what is important? We have to let go like that. and surrender to his will, and he will take us through, whatever that is right for us, and he will make our life beautiful. So why fear when I am here? That is what you have to understand, and you have to become absolutely fearless. Where is the money going to come from? How am I going to run this? How am I going to do this? Why is that fear? Why should you have that fear? Don't have any fear. Surrender. And when you surrender, then you will be in that state, that centeredness. You're not going to bother about what somebody's saying, good about you, bad about you, whether you have money, you don't have money. At the end of the day, the one who's going to take care, Lord Shri Krishna is your Karta Dharta. When you have surrendered, it is his. At the end of the day, it is his responsibility. Why do you think your life is your responsibility? This is what spirituality teaches us. This is what in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Shri Krishna has imparted, whether it is Uddhav Gita, Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam. What is that you need? You need to have absolute faith, complete surrender, unconditional pure love and exclusive devotion. That is what is important. And doing all your actions with dispassion, detachment, and you'll be able to discriminate. When this is all you need to attain the divine, the divinity, that is all about spirituality. Understanding that I am the spirit and not the body, where I don't have to get disturbed. As long as you practice all of this, then spirituality is in the palm of your hand. Lord Shri Krishna is right in the palm of your hand. So where is that attaining him is going to be so difficult? So what is more important? Being your good self, say good words, feel good. Sometimes you might say something in anger, but from your innermost being, you should never think anything bad for anybody. On the contrary, it has to always be the goodness at heart. Please remember, people, if the Lord wants to teach them, he will teach them in their own way. They will get their lessons. Don't bother. My Guruji will always say something. If somebody does something wrong, please remember an action is committed. For that, there is going to be, every time when an arrow is shot, it has to meet the mark. So whatever actions you perform, please remember, at the end of the day, the Maya is watching. Prakriti is going to give them their lessons, but you don't say anything bad. This is a very profound lesson, but we don't understand. We think we have to say something, we have to do something, and it is our right to fight for it. No. Whatever your Guru ordains you to do, just do that much. Don't go beyond that point. If your Guru says you have to fight, go fight. If your Guru says, yesterday my Guruji gave me an instruction as to what sequence I need to make a call, and I exactly followed that. And I know if I don't follow that, even though it's a simple thing, but you know what, the mind will override. Okay, let me call the other way around. And if I would have done that, it is my funeral, not anybody else's, because that is going against his instructions. Every word from your Guru has to be followed to the T. And let me tell you, life will be very beautiful, because his grace of firewall is always around you. His blessing is always around you. No calamity shall befall. Everything will happen very smoothly. But to attain this, that is all it is required. That is the sadhana you have to put in. That is the effort you have to put in, disciplining yourself and following these lessons to the T, not forgetting that everything in this universe that you're going through is just Maya alone. And as a body, you are here to repay. The prarabdha karma has to be repaid. I'm sorry to stress on this so much, but this is a very important lesson. We are actually at the end of the Guru Charitra. But today, I'm telling you, the Charitra of the Guru is something you need to understand. The nature, he's very, very beautiful. His nature is incomprehensible. And when you meet such a master, please show that reverence. Surrender unto his feet and follow his instruction with faith and devotion. You will attain your spiritual will with effortlessly. But most important, there has to be a lot of arduous, extraordinary, and self-effort is a must in redeeming yourself. So the Nawab prayed to Gurunath that he should visit his kingdom and bless it. Gurunath said that it was then getting late for his forenoon Anushtan, and he had to rush to Papa Vinasini Tirtha immediately. He told him he could come and meet him later there. Saying thus, Gurunath, along with his retinue of disciples, disappeared and in a trice reached Papa Vinasini, which is 44 krosa away from Gangapur. Some of his devotees, prominent among whom was Nagnath, the son of Sayamdeo, came for his darshan there. They worshipped Gurunath and performed Samardhana. Gurunath at that time graced their houses and blessed all their family members. It was nearing evening time, and Gurunath told them that the Nawab would be arriving now with all his royal retinue. for his darshan. The Nawab and his retinue, riding on their horses, reached the Papa Vinasini by the evening and had Guru Nath's darshan. He fell at Guru Nath's feet and again prayed that he should visit his kingdom. Guru Nath visited Vaidurya Nagar. He was accorded the grandest welcome. All streets and houses were decorated with festoons and flowers. The roads were sprinkled with fragrant water mixed with musk and sandal. The queens received him doing arti. The Brahmins sang Vedic hymns. How do you receive the God? We don't even care when the God comes. That's a very sad state in our world. And people will question, why are you, trying to pray, worship a human being? You think this is a human being? God Almighty. We are all blessed to have him. When his feet touches that place, it becomes pavitra. Pavitra means holy. He removes all the evil, whatever the calamities or whatever the wrong things that is there from that place, and blesses it and makes it so holy, confers blessing on everybody, addresses everybody's grievances and gives them that which they seek from their innermost being, fulfills everyone's desires. That is this divine master. His greatness is never known. Yesterday also I narrated a very beautiful story about Gajanan Maharaj. Why does a saint go to a particular place? Why does these yogis wander, who are avadutas? They just wander around. And why do they go? Because they just want to bless. They have nothing to hold for themselves. They are desireless being. What can you give to the God who owns this entire universe? Like Ramakrishna Paramahamsa Ji has said, what can you offer the garden from his own garden? You will pluck few flowers and give it to him? No, exactly the point, right? So what do you think you can offer? Can you offer your wealth? No, he's given you that also. He's the master of this universe. Entire wealth belongs to him. Yet he covets nothing. There is nothing that he owns, but he owns everything. But he doesn't claim ownership, but we petty human beings claim ownership of everything. My father, my mother, my house, my job, my money, my bank account. You know what? Those are the miseries of your downfall. Please remember, it's that which you think you own is the cause of your downfall. But you know what? The one priceless thing, one which you cannot even own, that is called the divine Lord Almighty. Own him in your heart, though he is not possessed by anybody. No one can possess him. Yet you can only possess within your heart with your love. Fill him over there. Make him come to you within your heart and accept your offerings of love. That is what you can do, nothing more than that. Nobody on this planet earth can possess this God Almighty. He is equal to all. He belongs to all. That reminds me of a very beautiful experience. When I was in Singapore, I was, for a very short duration of time, I was going to learn music, and I had this aspiration that I want to be able to sing Carnatic songs and learn classical music. But I never had the shruti in my voice. So first I had gone to one teacher, and then this teacher didn't want to put effort. She said, you should have joined when you're 4 years old. Why are you coming when you're 20 plus? Now you can't get the shruti. She dissuaded me. But my Guruji said, no, go find someone else. Because when a teacher is saying that you can't learn, then you can't learn from such a teacher. Then she's not even qualified enough to be a teacher. So then I went in search of another teacher. So someone recommended me to this very beautiful teacher. She's also from Bangalore, but she lives in Singapore. Her name is Bhagya Murthy. She has a very sweet voice, and she performs a lot of performances on even divine songs of Lord Shri Krishna in Kannada. So went to learn from her. Then the moment I told her, I expressed my desire to learn. Even I told her I'm not interested in becoming some great singer and performing in some concert and all that. That was not the intent. The intent is just to express my love to the divine Lord. So she gave me the time, and she started teaching me in a simple way where I will be able to understand how the shruti works, how my voice have to get aligned to that tune. So then she started teaching me. So every week when I would go, even though I was not getting the shruti, she made an effort. She didn't give up on me and continued with that pursuit of, I continued with the pursuit to learn, and she continued to teach me, in different methods possible. And then one day, she had a very beautiful Krishna's picture, and also I think Panduranga. And then it was very beautiful. She sang a piece about a very beautiful poet called Kanakadasa from South India, and she sang that song. It is amazing. It literally got tears in my eyes. It literally is telling Lord how much I love you. I want you, and an expression through music. See, music is also a form of attaining the divine. It is a way how you attain the divine within yourself, and that was beautiful. The bhakti was so intense, and every time I start singing, I would start crying, and along with me, she'd also cry. So it is very, I would look forward for that Saturday. So what I was telling, the reason for me to narrate this is, there is, the to attaining divinity happens in different capacities, but you cannot say that you can't attain, you cannot, I can't do this, I cannot do this. So the most important thing is you have to, that grace comes through different way. And when somebody says they can't teach you, God finds an alternate. Because he wants you to understand that it is possible. Don't say no, I can't do this, I'm incapable. That is what my Krishna Guruji also teaches. He says, you have to be able to do everything. What is not possible? When the Lord is on your side, you have to put an effort. Don't tell me I cannot, I don't know. The word negative, please remove all the negatives. Unravel this potential which is resting within us. The power of the God is within us. You think you can't sing, and that time, even though I don't have a sur, that shruti doesn't exist, but it is with your heart that you have to sing. It is not the shruti that matters. You know what Lord Shri Krishna likes? To see how much effort you put in doing that job, how much effort you show in singing. Even if your voice is bad, doesn't matter. Even if you don't know something, it doesn't matter. Try that. Go and try. Don't never give up saying that I don't know. Somebody said I can't sing, then I will not do this. You should never say something like that. So most important here, that grace. So when that Guru's grace come, it is very beautiful. Likewise, this person, I could see the divinity in her, and there was some grace there. And once my Guruji also happened to come and meet with her, and then she said that one beautiful thing to my Guruji. I don't know whether she learned music or not, but it was the most beautiful thing. We would talk at length about God and devotion, and whatever we sang, we would literally cry from our heart. That was it. That music would just make you feel lost. That bhakti, that passion, not, I'm sorry, passion is again a wrong word, but passion for the divine is very important. Not passionate about sense objects. That's not what is important. So coming back, show that bhakti. Nothing is impossible. You will be able to achieve. But what is important is your effort. Your effort to go and do that. That is what Lord Shri Krishna looks for. He's not interested, how great a singer, how beautiful voice you have, or are you that, we in India, the bird koel, cuckoo, it has the most sweetest voice. We're not looking at the sweetness of that voice. We're looking at that your effort. Even if there is no shruti, that effort, when you sing from your heart, that is what Lord Shri Krishna wants. That coming from your heart and putting that effort to attaining him, or even doing anything for him. And what here how was he welcomed? Why was he welcomed in that capacity? He was welcomed because that is who he is. The Nawab understands the greatness of this divine master. We get one opportunity in a lifetime. And if we miss this opportunity of not, giving that respect, reverence, and celebrating this divine Lord Almighty, what use is it? I keep telling my Krishna Guruji, I want to celebrate you, in a very grand manner. And my Guruji will say, someday I'm going to, make that happen. I want, but that happens only with his blessing alone. If he wishes to receive it, is only when you can do it. It is not saying I want to do it. It is only the divine Lord who will accept it when you offer it humbly. There is nothing that you own. That is what I'm trying to tell. And effort. It is not about what you can offer. Whatever that you have, the divine Lord Mighty will accept. And Lord Shri Krishna says, even when you give a leaf of tulsi with that absolute love and devotion, I will very graciously accept it. I will personally come and accept it myself. So understand this truth, and please be very kind-hearted, big-heartedness. Show your goodness, let the love flow, and magic will happen. Don't worry about how the world behaves. When you have this Guru, revere him, learn from him. Don't lose this opportunity to celebrate him. The queens received him doing Aarti. The Brahmins sang Vedic hymns. Shri Narasimha Saraswati was made to sit on a specially decorated throne, bedecked with precious stones, garlands, etc. The Nawab himself was sitting, waiting upon him. Gurunath asked the king whether all his vasanas were fully satiated yet or not. What is Gurunath asking him? He's saying the Nawab himself was waiting upon him. Gurunath asked the king whether all his vasanas, what is vasanas, tendencies, were fully satiated yet or not, because he had this feeling, right? I want to be rich. I wish I was that king. So now the Gurunath is asking, is it enough? You have enjoyed, right? Everything that you want? That is what the Guru is asking him. The Nawab said he had enough of them, and what his heart yearned for now was only doing service at the feet of the master. What is important? Guru Seva and Guru Bhakti. That is the only thing that will redeem you. There is nothing else. What is it you're trying to enjoy? Wealth, jewelry, clothes, children, family? No, that is all misery. But what is even the Nawab telling? Now, I want to do service unto the feet of thy lotus feet. That is what he's saying. I don't want anything now. Gurunath advised him that he should now leave the throne to his son and retire to Giri Parvata, Sri Sailam, and take to a life of contemplation. See, the king has now done his responsibility. He has enjoyed being a king. He's done everything. Now what did Gurunath's instruction is? Hand over the throne to your son and go to Sri Sailam Parvata and there sit and contemplate. He assured him he would give him his darshan there and grant him liberation. Saying thus to the Nawab, Gurunath returned to Gangapur. The Nawab did as advised by Gurunath. He took to intense meditation. He had the vision of Gurunath and earned liberation. The freedom of the spirit, the true sovereignty. What is this freedom? The freedom of the spirit, that is the true sovereignty. Understanding I am not this body, spirituality is that. Understanding the truth of it. I am the spirit and not this body. And always being in that Satchidanand state. Have you seen Lord Sri Krishna? Just like, he lives in all that, madness. He lives like that lotus flower who is untouched by what is happening, and the lotus flower grows in that muck, yet shines so beautifully. You have to live like a lotus leaf. That is why Lord Sri Krishna is compared to a lotus leaf. It's a comparison. It's an inference. What is the inference here? It is about how the water is untouched on that lotus leaf, like that. While performing all our duties in this world, we have to be detached, dispassionate, and discriminate, and always be devoted to and attached to the divine Lord Almighty and your Gurunath. Absolute faith, complete surrender, unconditional pure love, and exclusive devotion. The passion has to be for the divine, the attachment has to be for the divine, and you have to discriminate. Discrimination is that this world is unreal and there is only one truth, and that is the divine Lord Almighty, and to be able to see God in everybody and serve everyone selflessly. With that, we end this beautiful chapter. Thus ends the 50th chapter of Sri Guru Charitra. Glory to the All-Merciful, the Omnipresent and the Ever-Responsive Gurunath. We have 25 minutes, so we'll begin with a new chapter, which is the most painful chapter for me, and that is chapter 51, the Mahaprasthan. In this chapter, the Mahaprasthan of Gurunath is described. Gurunath has decided to withdraw his physical form. He sets out from Gangapur, leaving his Nirguna Padukas there, and after enshrining his presence and power in them, he leaves for the holy Sri Saila Parvata with 4 of his disciples. From there, he sets out on a float on the waters of Patala Ganga to his eternal abode. He sends back a cluster of flowers as a token of his message and blessings to his disciples, which comes floating against the current. The final message of Gurunath to humanity is embodied in a nutshell in this chapter. He assures that through mere remembrance of him, one can earn his grace. He also tells about the great merit which the Guru Charitra Parayan confers. Mad Bhakta Yatra Gayanti Tatra Tistami Narada. What does it mean? O Narada, my true abode is where people sing my name and devotion. Where does your Guru live? Oh my God, this is a very profound truth. My own Narada, my abode is where people sing my name and devotion. Wherever people sing his name and devotion, that is his abode. That is where the Guru rests. So, where does the Guru actually exist? If you don't have the physical Guru living, but where does he live? Wherever there is, wherever my devotees sing my praise and take my name with devotion, that is the abode. That is my abode. I live there. Today, Guru Nath is giving a very supreme, sovereign secret. Please understand why Guru Bhakti, Guru Seva is so important, and always taking the divine name of the Lord and doing the sadhana, studying the scriptures. Why all of this important is mentioned, and most important, what is important? Devotional service. Even when you don't have your physically your Guru present, you can keep his picture and you can keep the idols and worship, and with that bhakti sing the praises. He is very much over there with you. This is the truth which Guru Nath is explaining to his devotees. As we have seen in the previous chapter, Siddha Muni told Namdarak about the visit of Guru Nath to Vaidyuri Nagar at the pleading of the Nawab. Siddha Yogi continues the narrative. Guru Nath was accorded a most regal welcome by the Nawab and was received with overwhelming devotion by all the sections of people of the city. Following the visit, Guru Nath's name and fame spread far and wide. Imagine Nawab visiting the Guru Nath. Does it mean now everybody will start following? No, that's how it works. But people, when you say, no, my Guruji is there, though he is appearing very ordinary, he is the divine Lord Almighty, do you think anybody is believing? Nobody believes. They're only interested in miracles. But the moment when the Nawab went, the miracle was performed of his ailment, I'm sure the news spread like a wildfire. So you think there will not be devotion? Why? Because people only believe in miracles. Very sad state. Following the visit of Guru Nath, Guru Nath's name and fame spread far and wide, and many Muslim people also started pouring into Gangapur for Guru Nath's darshan and for redress of their difficulties. With the constant influx, the serene atmosphere of Gangapur was getting disturbed. What is happening? When too many people come, that whole place gets destroyed. This is the truth about life. Unfortunately, that is how we human beings are. We don't know how to keep a place sanctified. You go and see Shirdi today, completely destroyed with so much of, millions and millions of people going there. That place has been taken over. This money thriving, it's contaminated completely. Same thing, whichever place you think, Tirupati or you name all these holy places, they are contaminated. The serenity of that place is gone. That nature around it completely gets destroyed. And this is the truth. Even when Narsim Saraswati was there, so why are we thinking today something is going to be different? With the constant influx, the serene atmosphere of Gangapur was getting disturbed. Guru Nath had already been hinting to his devotees for some time past that he would be leaving for the Kadali Van, that is Banana Grove, at Sri Saila Parvata before long. One day, he called all his devotees and the people of Gangapur to the mutt. He announced that he was bidding goodbye to Gangapur. Imagine what a kind of shock that would have been. I can't even digest this. It's very difficult for me to even read this chapter now. And was setting out on his pilgrimage to Sri Sailam. All started sobbing. Absolutely. Imagine, what will happen? It's like a blow on your head. Though one day your Guru is actually have to leave this earth. But it's a very difficult thing to accept. He announced that he was bidding goodbye to Gangapur and was setting out on his pilgrimage to Sri Sailam. All started sobbing. What would be Gangapur without Guru Nath? Guru Nath was his sole life and light. Seeing how grief-stricken all were, Guru Nath announced that although they would not be able to see his physical form at Gangapur, yet they would be abiding there forever. That he would be abiding there forever. In his invisible form, in his grace body, he would continue to answer all prayers and would continue to shower his grace on all the supplicants. He further said that Wherever he be, he would continue to visit the Sangam in the mornings every day for his bath. And by midday, he would be visiting the mutt unfailingly, though he would not be visible to the human eyes. He assured them that he would be in his Nirguna Padukas in the mutt, and that they would be the reservoir and repository of all spiritual power, and that worship offered to them would be reaching him only. He further said that worship offered to the Ashwatha tree was worship unto the Kalpavriksha. The Ashwatha tree would fulfill all the desires of the supplicants, comforting and assuring the people thus. He set out from Gangapur. He asked his disciples, except four of them, to go out on a pilgrimage, and assured them that he would be ever with them. All the people of Gangapur were following him. Guru Nanak told them that they should return to their homes. He again assured that his presence would continue to be felt at the mutt by all devotees by the mere remembrance or recall of his name. The people had to retrace their steps with a heavy heart homewards. They were feeling that their life breath had ebbed out of them. The void caused in their life by Guru Nanak's leaving from Gangapur could never be filled up and would remain for so forever. Their hearts sank down in despair and gloom. At the mutt they all stopped, their feet refusing to move from there. Why not we all end our lives here? That was their thought at that moment. Lo, there was a flash of light in the mutt. Guru Nanak revealed himself before their eyes, smiling and holding out his Abhyaya Hasta, the raised palm indicating assurance and benediction. The people were enlivened. Their gloom had melted away, and with faith enriched in the omnipresence of Guru Nanak, they slowly returned to their homes. Guru Nanak, along with his four chosen disciples, reached the Kadalivan on the banks of Patala Ganga at the foot of the Srisaila Parvata. Thereafter, Guru Nanak asked the disciples to prepare a float with banana trunks and leaves. The float was prepared. It was bedecked with flowers. Guru Nanak asked them to place the float in the river. He stepped into the float and seated himself on it. The disciples offered obeisance and worship to him, while their hearts were bursting out with grief at the impending separation from their beloved Lord. Guru Nanak cheered them up and told them, "My dear children, I am fully aware of the anguish of your hearts at the thought that I am leaving you. But I assure you again, I shall be with you forever, and especially at Ganga. I will be showering my full grace there on all supplicants who are sincere, earnest, and faithful, only to make myself inaccessible to agnostics, atheists, and the faithless." Who is Guru Nanak not going to be available? Only to make myself inaccessible to agnostics, atheists, and the faithless. The Guru will never be with them. The more you are against and doubt him, you'll only see his Maya. So be very careful. I am taking on this prasthan, but even so every day I will be present at the Amruja Sangam for my morning bath and will be visiting the Gangapur mutt for receiving the Bhiksha. Be sure about this and do not give place to any doubt. I will never be leaving Gangapur. I will be accepting all worship that will be offered at the mutt. Convey the following advice of mine, which I am giving to you now to all. All pilgrims to Gangapur should first take their dip in the holy waters of Bhima Amraja Sangam. If they bathe in all the Ashtatirthas, the merit will be even far more and will be several fold. The Ashwatha tree, which is near the Sangam, is as holy as the Kalpavriksha itself. They should make pradikshana around the Ashwatha tree. They should offer worship to the Nirguna Padukas at the mutt. All 3 times of the day, they should do arti to the Padukas. Whoever offers worship to the Chintamani Ganapati deity there will earn full fulfillment of all his desires. Believe me, I will be residing in the house of every devotee ever, serving them and showering all grace on them. Who is he going to be residing at? To the devotee, and where his praises, where his glories are discussed, where his name is taken, and where the devotee rests. That is where he is going to be there. I will be residing in the house of every devotee, ever serving them and showering all grace on them, ever serving them and showering all grace on them. I will be like the Kamadhenu in front yard of their house, like the Kalpavriksha in the backyard of the house, and like Lakshmi, Saraswati and Parvati residing inside the house. With mere remembrance of me, I will respond to everyone. Remember also how fond of music I am. Today we spoke why music is so important. Therefore, during Deva, Devata Archana time, during the worship time, you should invariably also do bhajan. There is nothing like bhajan to bind me down in your homes and hearts. What is so important? Bhajan. Singing the glories and divine, praises of the Lord is so important. So music is such an important thing. Doing bhajans and artis is extremely important. In whichever house my name is chanted, there is no scope for poverty or disease to come anywhere near there. Poverty and disease all quickly take to flight from there. The inmates of the house will be blessed with longevity. That house will be ever prosperous and a plenty. The house will ever be happy and joyous with healthy and playful children, and will never be in want of anything. See, this is what the Guru Nath's blessing is. His blessing of benediction, what is it? There will be nothing ever wanting or want of anything ever in the house of my devotees, because I am personally there to take care of them, all their needs and fulfill all their desires. Further, let me also tell you that the supreme merit one will earn by listening to or reading my charitra. Reading whose charitra? My charitra. Who is this me? That is Dattatreya, Lord Dattatreya, Guru Charitra, Guru's charitra. He is the supreme master. And who is he? Lord Shri Krishna himself. Please remember the power of the Guru. Don't ever underestimate it, and don't never ever treat a Guru in any bad manner. Further, let me also tell you about the supreme merit one will earn by listening to or reading my charitra, that is Guru Charitra. It will be the panacea for all ills in the Kali Yuga. It will be like the Kalpalatika, that is the ever wish fulfilling celestial creeper. It will be like Chintamani, the celestial diamond, bestower of all prosperity. Now I bid you adieu. You stay back. I will be sending flowers on as my prasad to you. No sooner than I reach my destination, the prasad will confer on you immense good. Saying thus, he disappeared out of their sight. It was Bahudanya year, Uttarayana Bahula Padyani, Friday. The nakshatra was Pushyami and was especially an auspicious time with Brihaspati entering the Kanya Rashi. Such was the time of the Mahaprasthan of Guru Nath. The disciples stayed on there only, unable to decide what to do, and so to say, immobilized. Of course, they're all shocked. No matter how much, whatever your Guru says is with you, is within you, no matter what, you are going to be shocked completely. Can you ever let that body go? No, it's very difficult. It's very tough. Their minds were blank at this juncture. A boat came towards them. The boatman told them they had a message for them from a Yatri sannyasi who gave his name as Sri Narsimha Saraswati. They said that they saw on the waters a yati, golden splendored body, holding a danda and a kamandal and wearing golden padukas. He was speeding fast on a flower chariot. He told them, the boatman, that they should give this message to his disciples. Tell them it is the ardent wish of their Guru, Sri Narsimha Saraswati, that they should soon go back to Gangapur and that he will be sending them prasad pushpa as a token of his blessings. No sooner did the boatman say thus than 4 big flowers of celestial beauty came there floating against the current. The boatman picked up the flowers and gave the disciples 1 flower each. The four disciples were Sayamdev, Kavishwar Nandi, Narahari Kavi, and Siddha Muni himself. Siddha Muni said to Namdarak, as you have been born in the line of Sayamdev, you have won the merit of listening to this glorious Guru Charitra. In narrating this to you, I feel greatly blessed by Gurunath and feel supremely happy. This is the greatness of the Guru. I hope you understood this beautiful lesson. And please, those who have the blessing of having their Guru in their life, have absolute faith and be devoted to him. Never treat him with disrespect or like an ordinary human being, because he is not. He is Guru Sakshat Parabrahma. And those who are listening to this and those who have a Guru, please value him, have that faith and follow his instruction to the T. Never trouble your Gurudev by performing any kind of karma. Because of your sins, he suffers. Understand this. And he will disappear very soon like this. So be very kind, sing his glories and praises and worship with devotional service. That is the only way to attain his grace. And please remember, he is not a heartless human being like us. He is ever compassionate. Even whether you show devotion or not, he will still bestow upon you his grace. But please remember, he has very clearly said that he is not going to be known to the agnostic. He is going to be inaccessible to agnostic, atheist and the faithless. So what is the word that is important for having him is faith and devotion. Guru Bhakti, Guru Seva. With this, I hope we end the 50th chapter of Guru Charitra. We have already come to the end of this whole Guru Charitra Parayan. Tomorrow, I will be doing the epilogue, and in this, we will be reading about Lord Dattatreya's 24 principal Gurus. It's a very profound one. So let us do that. With this, we finish Guru Charitra, just as though feels that there's something come to an end. And this is not there's nothing about a divine Lord Mighty that can end. This love and devotion is to eternity. This body is only a transient, but you are that eternal being. Have that bhakti. Please remember, your Guru is the highest in this universe. There is none other than him. God and Guru both are equal. So don't think that God is above the Guru, or the Guru is definitely above the God, but God is not above the Guru. Both are equal. And who is the Guru? Lord Shri Krishna himself. That Krishnam Vande Jagat Guru. I hope you understood. I hope you have taken even one word of this whole Parayan and Satsang. And I wish you attain your devotion to the lotus feet of your Gurudev if you have one. And if you're seeking, please continue the seek. When the right time comes, the Guru will find you with his grace. And with that, we come to the end of Guru Charitra. Thus ends the 51st chapter of Sri Guru Charitra. Glory to the all-merciful, the omnipresent and the ever-responsive Gurunath. Thank you for joining Sri Guru Charitra Satsang and wishing you all once again a very happy Guruvar. Om Shri Mahaganapate Namaha. Om Shri Gurudev Datta. Om Shri Sachidananda Sadguru Sainath Maharaj Ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Digambara Digambara Shripad Vallabha Digambara. Om Shri Krishna Gurunathanatha Shri Guruve Namaha. Om Devi Durgaya Namaha. Om Shri Krishna Arpanam Namastu. Krishnam Vande Jagat Gurum.